Welcome, everybody, to the Ricardo's Rules of Resilience podcast, the podcast where we give you the tools to withstand and recover from difficult times. I'm your co-host, Coach Alton, and I'm joined by Coach Ricardo. And today we have a very special guest, Coach Chelsea, one of our coaches here.
I'm glad you agreed to be with us. You're coming up on 2 years. And coaching isn't what you always done.
No, not at all.
What were you before being Kelly?
So I'm not even originally from Indiana, this area. I mostly grew up and lived in Minnesota and was a nurse for 11 years. Did a little bit of lots of different kinds of nursing. When I left Minneapolis, it was the height of COVID. I was a COVID nurse. I kind of left what I had been doing because I wanted to be more involved in COVID when it started. So I was a COVID nurse up until we left. And then we moved here and I was doing nursing just for a little bit longer. And then burnout is a real thing, and kind of thought getting out of Minneapolis with everything going on there, get a fresh start. I kind of thought it would get better. And once I started, I was back working in a hospital, which is hard. And I'm not a fan. The burnout just continued and got real. So I quit and took a summer off, and then found, I think it was a Facebook ad for the coaching internship. And the last couple of years started getting into fitness and was like, well, maybe I want to work in fitness, but I'm still nursing. Maybe not. It's just kind of a cool idea. And then this internship pops up right after I quit nursing. And I had to do it. I didn't know when another opportunity like that was going to come along, because you don't need experience to do the journey internship, which is, I hadn't heard of anything like that.
And Coach, you're a case in point of why we don't require experience. What we're looking for in coaches are people that have certain abilities and personality, interest in people, coachability. Are they humble? Are they hungry? Are they willing to learn the skills? Because we feel like, get the right person, we can teach the skills. And you're an example of that. You came in with absolutely zero coaching. Just absolutely nailed the coaching audition. I still, when people audition, you've heard me, I compare them to your, I will tell them, well, we can't expect you to have a Coach Chelsea audition because you nailed it. And then you came in and you became A certified, tough certification, you think?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of late night study sessions.
Yeah.
Yep.
You studied months for that, right?
About 2 months. Yeah, I really buckled down.
And you were able to actually shorten it down because you already had all the anatomy.
Haven't taken the test yet and don't have that background. I feel so bad for them having to learn that stuff, because that was kind of just review for me. So it was a lot of the other questions that they asked, like the business side of things, that I didn't know that vocabulary. I had to study that. Sure. But it's a big test.
Coaching ethics and all that. But knew the veins of the heart and all of those kind of things. So you had a big head start. But a little tough. But you did it. You got through Journey U. You got through our training. You got the ACE certification. You made it. And a lot of people don't know this, but the average for a trainer in the fitness industry is 2 years. And you're coming up on that, on your 2 years. And we're going to talk a little bit later about what's next for you.
Okay.
But you have, been able to go through the highs and lows of being a coach, but life prepared you for that. One of the things that, you already alluded to was the COVID years in Minnesota. But even prior to that, you went through a really tough time where you were going through a divorce while being pregnant.
Not pregnant.
Not pregnant.
But Coda was not even a year old and we were already divorced.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's not.
Yeah. So very infant, you're making all that life adjustment while going through a divorce, a very difficult time. So we have listeners to the podcast, members, non-members who also go through tough times. Talk about a little bit of what helps you to be resilient, to withstand an extremely difficult time in your life.
I think when I think about resilience, and probably because this is how I felt, I feel like it's when you can either see rock bottom or bottom, and you just kind of have to make a choice. Am I gonna give into it, like let it take me down, or do I have one last fight in me? And I think for me, it's a lot of my personality. I'm not to power without a fight. But when you get to that point, it was scary. And I don't think you can fault anyone if they can't get themselves out of that, because it takes everything in you. And sometimes you have support from people, sometimes you don't. I'm lucky that I come from a good background, a good family. So even though I don't necessarily like reach out to them, and I'm not one to like kind of talk about what's going on. I just like power through on my own. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I know my family would have been there if I needed something and reached out. But yeah, like I said, when you see that rock bottom, when you feel like you're there, it's terrifying, and it's really, really scary.
Yeah. And so you're telling us that part of it is knowing that people are there, even if you're not choosing in the moment to reach out, just the comfort, the knowledge that there are people there if I need it. I can pick up the phone if I need it. Sounds like that's part of what helps you get through each day. And what else?
Having something that you love to do. If there's one thing that you can still find joy and do a certain amount of time during the day, that was really, really, I think, important, and something that definitely helped me. And for me, it just happened to be fitness. I kind of fell into it. I was not a fit person growing up. I was the person in gym class, like up in junior high and high school, that would rock the mile or try to get out of gym class myself. I really didn't it. I didn't want to do it. So I was not athletic. I've got the pictures to generate it. But I happened to get into rock climbing in Minneapolis, bouldering specifically, and that really kind of saved me. I think one time because I became friends with the staff at the gym we went to, and wrote them like a salary review one time, and I'm just like, you guys are my church. This is where I go. So found that, and that really kind of turned things around for me. That was my safe place to go. It was something that gave me purpose, honestly. And then that kind of snowballed into wanting to coach and remain in fitness, and now I'm here.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying there, for our listeners, just listen to this coach. He was going through an enormously life-altering circumstance. He already had a life-altering circumstance. Anybody having their first child, anybody's got it.
Yeah,
that alone is more than enough to challenge your faculties, right? But in the middle of that, to go through another enormously tough, a divorce, another life-altering circumstance, both of those at the same time. And you're telling us one of the things that made a difference was to be around a group of people that were accepting you and were working toward a purpose. Because this, I believe that, divorce care groups or things like that are very important and very helpful. But in your case, you were around a group of people that were caring and supportive, but you weren't there to talk about difficulty. You were there to work toward climbing these boulders, figuring this out together. And that camaraderie was part of it for you.
Oh, it's huge. I don't know how many people in this area have been to a rock climbing gym. If you've ever been to one, you'll know that they're not these pretty, clean gyms with all these like Instagram influencers and their nice outfits. They're dirty. Everyone is dirty and grungy and just accepting of anyone who walks in the door, no matter what their skill level. So I loved having that place to go where you just feel accepted. Everyone is there maybe they're there for different reasons, but everyone comes together to help solve these boulders, because bouldering and rock climbing is all about problem solving. There's specific routes, and you have to figure it out in your mind before you can physically do it. So it gave me something to put my mind to for hours. I would go for 3-4 hours a day. And you're focusing, you're thinking, you're problem solving, and then it also challenges your body physically as well. So the combination of those two things was just everything to me. That's exactly what I needed and helped me realize what I want to do with my future, honestly.
And I think you had shared with me before that, the sense of community, or those people working toward that common goal together, was healing or sustaining for you, maybe?
Yeah, you could go into a gym by yourself and you're just like on the ground looking up at this problem, and next thing you know, someone's up there next to you like, oh, you're working on that one? Yeah, I tried this. Maybe try that. And then you go up there and they're just cheering you on. You don't know who this person is, but they're like, oh, I didn't think about doing it that way. And you just make these friends and connections over trying hard things, which I think is super, super cool.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
It does. It does. Yes. That's probably why I love it here so much, because it's very, very similar in that community sense, pushing people to try hard things and then celebrating when they do. Not even if they don't necessarily accomplish something, the fact that they're trying these hard things is so fun to watch.
Yeah, why do you feel as though trying and accomplishing hard things is so important to someone's success?
It makes me sad when I see people look at something and they just automatically think, well, I can't do that, because they're going to carry that into everything. Because it could be something not even big, but if they don't at least try, then they're holding themselves back. And what kind of future is that going to be for them? I know some people are fine with that. Some people, they will live a perfectly happy, fulfilled life. But I think inside the box, yep. But I think the majority of people, if they were to even just step a toe outside the box, their potential would grow exponentially, and their happiness as well. So even just being a part of someone trying that hard thing one time, it's like lighting a little flame, and then it can just grow and grow and grow. I just love it.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying there. You don't have to be miserable and searching for happiness and, oh, life is terrible. Like you're saying, you can have a good life, and I'm happy with my family, and, and I know who I am and all of that. But even still, if I will expand my borders and go beyond myself and my current capabilities and just lift that lid a little bit, like we talk about, and say, I'm going to, instead of saying can't, I'm going to say yet, I'm only going to use can't if I say yet, that life will expand and get even better and bigger. There's more out there for you.
So much more.
You've found that. So, and, another really tough thing, like we talked about, we said, coaching is a tough business to be in, training is a tough business, but you were prepared in part through tough things like going through COVID in Minneapolis, and the city was on fire.
It literally was on fire. Yeah. Wow, that was something. But gosh, So COVID started in 2020. Leading up to that, I had been working. I worked on it was a mobile crisis team. So if people were to call 911 with any kind of mental health issues, and also it was a lot of like substance abuse as well, we would go to that person wherever they were at in the community. So whether it was on the streets, with the homeless people, shelters, their homes, parks, literally anywhere. We would go to them and do a mental health assessment and kind of determine if they needed to go to the hospital, if they just needed some resources, if they were good staying where they're at with like a safety plan written up. I did that for, I think, 7 years. Absolutely loved it. I love the city of Minneapolis. I love being out in the community. It was exciting. It was a little dangerous at times. But that job also then morphed into working directly with the police, and it was a brand new program. And I was chosen to work in the precinct that burned down. That was my office at one point. I was partnered with it was just me and one police officer, and it was called the co-responder unit. And so the calls we would go to were just like a little bit more dangerous than what the mobile crisis team would go to. So it required police involvement. So he's so great, one of my best friends, and just a funny little. So I'm 5 foot nothing. Dave, my partner, 6'4". He has the muscle. Yeah, tattooed, dark skin. So you see us walking in, and it's so funny because like I'm the one who would make the decisions. If this person needed to go to the hospital, I wrote that. He just had to get him in the car to go. So yeah, I can't imagine what people thought when they called us, and here I come with like my bodyguard practically. Yeah,
mental fiction.
I know.
There's a
monster, huge guy. Yeah, love him to death. So I was working that job, and then COVID hit, and I left because I wanted to go be a COVID nurse. But like it all kind of happened at the same time, and the George Floyd riots, that's what I'm referring to. That was in my precinct. So that was on the streets I drove down every day. And the night that the precinct was burned down, Dave, my good friend, was there. He was, somebody that had to escape for his life. So
because your partner.
This is my partner. Yep. So you could watch it like live on all sorts of social media. So we're just in a living room watching this. I don't know where my friend is. My old building is being burned down. I'm just like, it was so unbelievable. I don't even really know how to describe it. You see it on the news, but I mean, there was the curfews. We weren't allowed out of our houses past 7. National Guard is going down the street, yelling at people to get in their homes. Businesses are boarded up. The city just changed, and it was so sad because Minneapolis is a great city. It's vibrant, it's diverse, it's fun, there's stuff to do all the time, but the city it's so different, and I'm sure it's going to take decades to rebuild it to what it was, really. So that's kind of all this. So that's going on. COVID's going on. Everything has changed. It's like the rug was pulled out from underneath me. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not happy. COVID nursing is, the whole world is burning me out just with all the opinions, and like no one knew what was right and wrong. Yeah. No one knew what it really was. So it was just negativity everywhere, all around. And this is kind of where I say I got to that point where you see the rock bottom. Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking, if we move, it'll get better. If I change jobs, it'll get better. And so we tried those things. We up and left Minneapolis. We had always talked about moving here to be closer to a lot of my family. But that was kind of the perfect time. Like, well, we don't want to raise a kid in a burning city with National Guard outside the door.
And how old was your son at this point?
2020. 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, young.
Preschool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So we up and moved. The move was great, close to family, beautiful home. Couldn't be happier with it. But I was still in nursing, and COVID had changed everything. I worked at Lutheran Hospital in Fort Wayne, and I hadn't worked in a hospital in a really, really long time because I did the crisis team for so long. So moving here and working in a hospital kind of after COVID, I mean, it's still relatively new. I was blown away. It was like nurses were just thrown to the wolves. There was no management support. There was virtually no staffing, and your patient loads are huge, and people are sicker now. And I just remember one night, I think, so on a typical like med-surg unit, you would have, you should only have 5 patients max. We typically had 6 because that's just the way it was. I remember one night I had 8 and there was no supervisor there. And I was working nights. I called 2 supervisors at home in the middle of the night and I was like, please do something, help. And I just got sorry, I can't. And I couldn't do that anymore. I was putting patients at risk, their lives at risk because I couldn't do my job.
Right.
And I just, I'm going to get emotional. I just,
But y'all didn't think it was fine.
I remember one night at home just breaking down. And I hated who I had become. And my husband said, I want to love you, but you're not who I fell in love with. And that was it. I had to make a change. And I had to beg. I begged him, please let me quit. Nurses make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he was staying home homeschooling our son, or his stepson technically, but for us to switch where I could stay home and he would go to work was a big deal.
Yeah.
And but if we didn't make that switch at that time, I don't know where we would be or where I would be.
You were just truly at the end of your
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really appreciate the fact you're willing to share that with us and our listeners. I know you've shared that with me personally before.
Yeah.
And
Bye every time.
yeah, as you should. I mean, what an extremely difficult, it's your chosen career, and you're trying to help people, and you're giving your very best effort, and the system is not, the system's setting you up to fail in your effort to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And of course, that's just grinding, chipping away at your soul until there's, you're so unrecognizable that your own husband's like, who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you have to choose to leave a good paying job to watch out for your health.
Yeah.
And, as people that are listening to this, I hope you will hear the example of courage that Coach Chelsea was in that moment. She had to have a tough conversation with her husband and say, hey, we need to change our whole life. You stay home with our son now, and I get this great, this good paying job, but we've got to totally reverse everything. We're going to just turn it all upside down on our head. So you had the courage to have a very difficult conversation. I'm sure it was a very difficult example's going to be, we'll just change everything, right?
Yeah.
That's of course going to be a tough talk for anybody to upend everything, but you had the courage to do that, right? Because you knew that what's going on inside of me has got to change, right? And this is more than I need a few extra days off, right? And rearrange my life to be the person I want to be. What a courageous move, and what an example to all of our listeners that here's somebody who, and I say that because Coach, and since you've been in this business, and I and Coach Al, all of us on this call, we've sat down with people who are miserable, perhaps as miserable as you were in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And their spouse, I've had someone crying because their spouse isn't attracted to them anymore, or which would be devastating. Of course they're crying. That's a devastating, hard thing, or they don't have the energy. They can't get down on the floor, or the doctors told them devastating things, and yet they're not taking that courageous step to say, I'm going to change. Something's got to change for me to get better. I can't just keep doing the same old thing and expect different results. And that change not only led you out of nursing, but it led you into a whole different place. You had to where you knew the anatomy and physiology, as we've already said, but fitness was not your thing. You used to hate it. Now you know other people to love it. Talk about it.
Yeah. High school Chelsea would be like, "Are you kidding? Like, who is this person?" I couldn't be happier with the way things ended up. I am a huge believer in fate. Things like this, when they happen, whether it's to me or somebody else, I really do believe that it's how it was supposed to go. We just don't have control over the timing or really the circumstances, but it just kind of blows my mind how I quit. Like, we moved here, I quit, and I had a great summer off with Carter. We went camping. We did a whole bunch of stuff, just me and him, that I hadn't gotten to do. Yeah, that I hadn't gotten to do his whole life because I was always working full time. And then boom, and the summer comes, and I see this internship advertisement, and now here it couldn't how it just happened so perfectly. How it just all fell into place. Had to go through that hard time to get here. And I just, like I said, I couldn't be happier with the outcome.
You must go through the valley to climb the mountain.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's a great example of how when something in your life is out of whack, how it can affect the other aspects of your life. Like in your situation, how work was becoming too stressful and that impacted your life at home. And
oh, yeah. Yeah. And going through it, you had a lot of guilt as a nurse too, because people would say, well, you went into nursing to help people, and now something happens and you want to quit. Like, so it wasn't just me that heard that. I had so many friends leave nursing.
Sure.
And it was looked in the nursing field, we supported each other because we got it. But outside the nursing or medical field, people just didn't get it. They just, I heard so much is it really that bad? Is that really what's happening? And again, I didn't have answers because no one knew what really was going on. But all I could say is, well, yeah, I saw people die before my eyes. That's real.
Yes.
How can you say I'm overreacting to that? But I got a lot of that.
Yeah, definitely. It was the crazy time in history, and you guys were kind of on the forefront, like the battleground of it all.
Yeah.
And I just want to highlight for our listeners again the courage it took to do the right thing for your own mental, physical health, for your family. It took courage not only, again, to upend your life and your home, your marriage. You had to do all of these difficult things and face pressure from outside. And so many times that is the case. If you're going to get healthy, get ready, because there's people who want to keep you sick.
Yes.
For their own purposes.
So strange.
If you want to stop smoking, there's going to be people around you who are going to tell you that they claim they love you, but you're going to get grouchy as you go through it. And they're going to tell you, if this is the way you're going to be, you just go ahead and have a cigarette. Right? And they want to keep you sick for their own comfort. Right? And here's people that, I'm just kind of getting angry with you. They're telling you, was it that bad? Well, if you don't think it was that bad, you take the job.
Yeah. Seriously.
We're still hiring over there. But you're going to have people, if you try to get help, if you try to lose weight. I had somebody, tell me, oh, you're too skinny. It doesn't matter what you do. If you You try to take oh, you work out too much, an hour a day max, 4 to 6 days in a week max, but whatever you do, there's going to be people who try to keep you sick for their own reasons. Maybe it's their own guilt that they're not doing anything, right? Maybe it's the jealousy that you have the courage they don't. I don't know. But you had the courage to do that, and you faced that. And I think that's a tremendous example for everyone. I'm glad you're telling that story.
Yeah, I'm glad to share it. I am.
I was wondering, you made this transition from, let's call it sick care, to actual health care. They don't call it a ghost. Talk about that. How's that?
That's a good way to put it. It's so much more rewarding. I think what you see a lot in healthcare is people come in, not necessarily when it's too late, but it's like they knew about this problem for a long time, and then they just want you to prescribe a pill and fix it, and they get mad that a pill doesn't work. They have to change their lifestyle. And especially in our country with like obesity, so many other things came along with that, and it was just like this never-ending revolving door. If they weren't gonna take the step to fix one thing, then all those other things are just gonna keep circling around. And that's similar to here, but I think when it comes to fitness, it has more to do with mental health. I think if everyone in the gym was perfectly happy with their mental health, they could go work out on their own. They could do something outside of the gym and maybe get the same results or better results, maybe, depending on their goals. But I think being here, coaching, it's great for my mental health. And then I think the people who are being coached, it's great for their mental health. And I think people in the gym are even more motivated to change than people I was taking care of in sick care, as you say. It was like the hospital or clinic was like a shop. They want to come in and shop for what they want. But here they're putting in the actual effort. They have to do the work themselves. I can't build their muscle for them. They have to do it,
Yeah. Good way to put it.
Yeah, so as Coach Ricardo said, you transitioned and you're coming up on being a coach for 2 years, and you do a really great job as a coach. So what are some things that you see like a recurring theme of those members that are successful as your time as a coach?
The ones that are successful, I think, are the ones that just keep showing up. Even the people who might leave for a little bit, they come back. And I think that is a huge success. It's the ones who are willing to, maybe they've been not food journaling or kind of went off the rails for a couple months and they don't want to weigh in. They don't want to know what the scale says, but they want to know where they're starting. So they get on the scale. They know what to do. They're the ones who have to turn it around to make it work. So I think the success is people willing to look at themselves and put in the work and know the changes they have to make, not just coming in, working out, great, build some muscle. It's the ones who have to work for it, I think.
Yeah, one of the rules.
Getting up one more time.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what you're saying. Yeah. Now that I think of the same thing. Yeah, one of the rules for our listeners is that success is getting up one more time.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
You get knocked down.
Yeah.
And you're saying it right there. It's not how many times you fall down, as long as getting up one more.
Yeah.
Than falling down.
Yeah.
What else have you seen that makes people successful, Coach?
Trying hard things. Trying hard things. My mind goes to DECA when I think of that. It's extremely intimidating. You look at that equipment and people are just like, what am I going to do with that? What am I supposed to do with that? It's too heavy. I can't do that. And people can go through DECA, get great times, great, be world champions. But the people who forever have been telling us, I can't do that, or I'm not ready. We're the ones who come in their first day and they do it. Those are the success stories that I remember. I'm just thinking about some of our older members who have worked so hard just to get their knee down in the lunges. They've been doing decas for a while, modifying them, but they continue to work to just do those small changes, and they're doing it. They are doing it. Yeah.
I love it. And you've experienced some success in DECA. You got an invite to the World Championship. You went to Dallas, competed, and part of your process in that was you decided you were going to take on the murder bike instead of the murder bike taking on you.
It helped so much. That bike, yeah. I mean, if anyone knows DECA, that bike, it's called the assault bike for a reason. It wants to hurt you. But it assaults me every time. Yeah, who knew that practicing over and over would help?
But you got down there and competed. What was that like, competing at a world championship?
It was good. I'm so glad I got to go. Being 100% honest, I looked around once I got there. I'm like, I don't belong here with these people. But then at the same time, I'm like, no, I do. I might not be on their level. I'm not elite. My invite was like a third roll down, but I still put in the work. I still earned my time that got me there. And I could have just said, no, I can't compete against them. I'm nowhere at their level, but I wanted to go. I wanted to do it. It was a great experience. I hope I get to go again. It really showed me how hard I have to work to be at that level. The elite athletes, it's like their full-time job,
right?
Right. And I'm just not going to be an elite athlete. That's not my goal.
Right.
But I have learned a lot from them, from seeing them compete, following them on lots of different social medias, and just taking lots of different tidbits. And I came back and I knew what I needed to work on. And then actually our last DECA had a huge PR over a minute. That was really, really exciting. So that has given me a lot of fuel and momentum. And
yeah, I think that's a great example of how pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, like you said, not being afraid to accept that invite and take on that challenge. And you're kind of already seeing, like you said, already have a PR, because you kind of brought the standards up a little bit. So I think that's a great example for that, of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And how do you feel like that translates with working out with people and pushing yourself in that aspect?
I love being the person that is kind of watching someone work out, and I just know they can do more, and I just idle up next to them with that heavy weight, just put it down, walk away, and then I look back and see the look they're giving me. Like I think it was last week, I was just working out on my own in the back, and who was it? I think it was Alicia Scott. She was doing something with the kettlebells, and I got off the bike. I was doing my own workout. I was like, you can do more. She was like, where did you come from? When I see that potential in people, it's almost like they need someone to see it first, because they don't believe they can do it. And then you believe and they try it. And then they're like, oh, yeah, I can do that. Thanks. That was hard, but I did it.
Yeah.
Or at least they tried.
Good coaching.
Yeah.
Really good coaching.
So much stronger than you think. We have so much untapped potential.
Yep.
So we're drawing near to the end of our time, and there's two things I wanted to talk about before we end. One of them, you're coming up on another transition. As I mentioned at the top of the hour, the average coaching career is about 2 years, and it's a tough job, and there's a lot of disappointment, a lot of tough hours, super early mornings, late evenings, a lot of things to do in between of keeping up with clients. And you've got a priority of taking really good care of homeschooling Carter. So let's talk about the transition come up for you in August.
Yeah, it was, I think back in December, you and I, Ricardo, had met and you talked about, I think it was a book you were reading or something, and it was about 10x and where in your life can you give 10x and how you can't give 2x here and 2x there and 2x there. And that really got me thinking about my priorities. Where should I be 10xing? Because I was giving 2x here at the gym and 2x at home. And Carter's 8, and we've homeschooled since he was 2. And I really thought about it and just realized I need to be 10xing at home for him while he's this young.
Yeah.
So I talked to you, just kind of let you know when my contract is up in August, I do need to step down just so I can be there giving my all at home for his education. I mean, I think about how that could impact him later on if I kind of only, I'm like, that's not fair at all to him. So, yep, in August, I am stepping down. I will still be around. You can't get rid of me.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of me. I'm still going to be around, subbing, working out.
I was going to say, you're saying stepping down, but you're actually just transitioning. You told us you're going to stay on as an employee, sub as needed. And I'm very happy to have you in that role. And something we say here all the time. I mean, how many times have I said family first, right? And so we absolutely support you. And, I want to give you a public thanks because all the way back in December when you said, I'm sensing like I need to put my priorities here. And, after a certain age, I'd like to come back and coach and everything, but I do need to plan this. So you were giving me 8 months to transition. And I said to you then, okay, I love it. Thank you for giving me the, thanks for let's making this plan together. Because, some people are like, he might fire me early, or whatever. But you were, trusting and came to me so we could plan it together for the best interest of the clients. And I said to you then, just finish well. It's hard to work a long notice and finish well.
Yeah.
And you have absolutely dedicated yourself to that. No one would look at you or your effort and say, oh, she's quit before she's done or done before she quit, whatever. But you have absolutely maintained that high level. And I'm very grateful for it. Our clients need that. They don't need someone who's coasting on out. Yeah. And you're pushing hard to the end. So I want to say thank you to you publicly. Of course, we say these things privately at staff meetings or whatnot, but our listeners, our members need to hear the kind of person that you are behind the scenes as well.
I just want to reiterate that point as well. With coaching interns a lot, I see a lot just how hard the job can be and how easily people wash out. And a lot of people take on that 2-year commitment but don't finish it out for several reasons. And you kind of had a reason to not fill that 2-year commitment, but you still stuck through. And we're very grateful for that. And how well you served and how great of a coach you've been for us has been awesome.
Thank you.
And we're looking forward to the future because you having that energy. And, you even now as a coach, you work out in sessions and bring the energy that way. And, you subbing when we need you. I'm just very grateful that, it's a transition, not an ending. Right.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, you can't get rid of me.
Yeah. I don't know why we trust. Yeah. So the last question we like to ask is to just open it up to you. Maybe we weren't smart enough to ask the best questions to elicit something that's on your heart and mind, some advice you have, some things. So to all our listeners out there, members, non-members, maybe somebody shared this podcast with a friend, what would you really love to say to someone today that we didn't ask?
Oh, that you didn't ask?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's, we kind of already talked about it, but I just really am stuck on this idea of just try hard things. Just do it. Even if it has nothing to do with fitness related. Hard conversations. I know we've talked about this a lot. Hard conversations are some of the hardest things I deal with.
Yeah, you're behind boulders, right?
Yeah. It makes me
somebody that made you mad.
path to perdition again, but don't make me have a conversation with someone. But it is so rewarding, and I never would have thought coming into this job that is what I'd be taking away from it, but it's huge. You just gotta step out of your comfort zone and try hard things. And even if it doesn't work out, whatever it is, you'll at least be able to say you tried. But if it does work out, the reward is so much bigger than the risk you took to try it. And once you see that, it motivates you and gives you more courage to try more and more hard things. It's so great. So I hope if stepping in our door is the hard thing, I hope that this gives people that courage to even just come in our door and see what we're about.
So well said. And thank you for being an example of that to our members now for just right around the corner will be 2 years of doing that, and for passing that on to all our members and passing it on to the new coaches that you have helped and are helping train. We appreciate so much all of what you have done, and look forward to more in the future. So if you're out there listening to this and you would like to work out alongside people like Coach Chelsea and get some of that, do some hard things, what do they got to do, Coach?
If you want to reach out to us, it's at 260-723-5333. And that is, you got to call that number. To reach out to me personally, best way is through social media on Instagram at AltonMolinex17_ and on Facebook at Alton Molinex. What's the best way to reach out to you, Coach?
Well, you can get a hold of me. That same phone number, 260-723-5333. If you're interested in that resilience coaching that we can do anywhere that they have internet, you don't have to come through our doors for that. We'd love to have you. Get a hold of me at coach.ricardo on Instagram, or Ricardo Molinex, or like I said, use that landline. Also, Coach Chelsea's talked about training for DECA. If you'd like your own individual DECA training plan, reach out to us. That's something we do, and we've seen a lot of success with that. We can have that for you as well.
Thank you guys for joining us for the Ricardo's Rules of Resilience podcast, the podcast where we give you the tools to withstand and recover from difficult times. Go be resilient.